There are 5 players that are out of options for the Braves this season. They are Tyler Matzick, Abraham Almani, Philip Irvin, Luke Jackson, and Grant Dayton. So what does all this mean? Let's go step by step here. Tyler Matzick is easily the biggest name on this list. I don't see this gaining any traction. I don't see this becoming a factor uh, this year. I just don't. Last year he had a 2.79 ERA out of the pen. He was 4-3 out of the pen, and he had a great postseason. And he had a really, the reason Tyler Matzick is so interesting, he had a really bad case of the yips a few years ago. But since he's returned, he's been excellent. And I really don't see anything that raises my eyebrows here. So moving on. Abraham Almani and Philip Irvin. I put these guys together because they're both in the same spot right now. They're both competing for that bench spot. They're fighting for a spot to be on the opening day roster. And make no mistake, spots are limited. So you got to think by numbers alone, they're both outfielders, and the competition going on at the moment for that bench spot, that at least one of these guys is not going to make it to opening day. Not to mention, like I said, they're both outfielders. So it's not even that they bring different skills in the field, offering the Braves more versatility. They're just, it wouldn't benefit the Braves in bringing both of these guys over. But right now there is a clear victor in that race. It's Philip Irvin. Before today, Almani had 24 at-bats with a 167 batting average. Irvin had 23 at-bats with a 261 batting average. So 261 versus 167 with virtually the same amount of at-bats. So why hasn't he been cut yet, Tyler? I know that's what you're all asking me. Why hasn't Albert Almonte been cut? Well, if you're out of options, the Braves are more than likely going to take every chance on you they can before they lose you to the waiver wire. I think that's what happened with Mike Foltynewicz last year. The Braves knew his situation. They at least knew his velocity was down before he was ever, pitching in a major league game. We saw him in summer camp. We saw him every time we saw him, we knew something was up, and the Braves did too, make no mistake about it. But they wanted him to have every chance because he had too much value to just let loose, right? And I think that's what and it's not quite the same in spring training for these guys, but again, if you're out of options, they're going to take every chance on you they can. But again, if I had to pick one, it's Philip Irvin at the moment. Luke Jackson is out of options. Oh, Luke Jackson. I know all of you guys are going to comment about this one. That's right. He's out of options. There's more to it than that, but he is out of options. Make no mistake. But if you remember, he signed a $2 million deal this past offseason. So far in spring, which is very limited, he's been decent. A 3.18 ERA in 5 2/3 innings. We all know that Luke can be really good at times. He can be okay at times, and he can be extremely worrisome at times. I think the Braves are going to give him every chance they can as well because, one, he's out of options, and two, they're paying him $2 million if he makes the roster. So they may cut him before then if they view that he's not worth it. Maybe they don't pay. They must see something in him. I know a lot of fans criticize Luke Jackson. They criticize the Braves for keeping this guy around. But keep in mind, they also saw something in an upcoming struggling Bryce Wilson. So don't jump on him quite yet. Hopefully he'll be a little bit more consistent this year if he makes the roster and avoid hitting the waiver wire. And you're probably wondering, as I was, why Luke hasn't had more games in spring training. You got to realize the Braves have a ton of bullpen options, especially right-handers. So I just wonder, what will Luke Jackson be this year? Ultimately, it'll come up. Hopefully we'll figure it out before opening day what he's going to be, what his role is going to look like. Grant Dayton is the final one. Speaking of bullpen options, Grant Dayton, who has been a bit up and down over the years, in 4 innings pitched so far in spring training, he's got a 6.75 ERA, just for example here. Super small sample size, which leads to some questions. A lot of folks are ready to pull the plug, saying he could get left off the roster. I've seen that out there with Braves media. I've seen kind of predictions out there. That's certainly a possibility. I think that's not unwarranted based on the time given to him more than the actual results, because with a small sample size like that, I really question how much I take that into account. I'm more paying attention to how much time he's being given, as I am with Luke Jackson. Grant Dayton only having 4 innings when he's one of the guys who we know is a bit of a worry makes me wonder if he's going to make it to the opening day roster. But the one thing about him, though, we've been talking about how many right-handers the Braves have. He's a lefty, and I think, Ultimately, the Braves are a little bit limited when it comes to left-handed pitching, and it'll be interesting to see if that keeps him around. I think that that could happen. I'm not saying it will. I don't know, but I think that is a reason why he's still at spring training because we all know he struggled last year. We all know in spring training, obviously, he wasn't doing very well, and he's not even getting the attention.